The man had just opened his eyes when he found himself trapped in a dark Buddhist hall. The black bell above my head rings without wind, emitting a harsh clanging sound. He desperately stepped back, only to find a shadowy figure covered in scorched black standing in the corner. The shadow didn't move, just stared at him intently. He still doesn't know that he has triggered the most desperate rule of this forbidden zone. The monster doesn't kill the protagonist, only the people the protagonist loves most. Once you are considered a friend by him, your name goes on the death list. This nightmare has just begun. Late at night, on the streets of Bangkok, 3 young people are running for their lives on the road. Above, a mass of black clouds bears down on the city. Behind, the dead silence of the alleyways. The man in the floral shirt ran so fast that he lost one shoe, clutching the phone tightly in his hand, shouting out his location. But before the person on the other end could respond, a huge dark shadow appeared at the end of the alley. It was a monster with a bluish-black body, wearing a tie, style-pointed crown and holding a long sword, its blade pointing directly at the 3. Nodding Green instinctively stepped in front of his companion. He thought the monster would come for him, but the monster let out a vicious roar. "I will kill everyone you love." This roar carried an extremely strong penetrating force. Notte clutched his ears in agony, knelt on the ground, and let out a piercing scream. Just as the monster swung its blade, an ambulance slammed into the alley, the driver slamming on the brakes and shouting, "Get in." The ambulance raced all the way and stopped at the gate of an ancient temple, Jinshan Temple. The crowd sprawled on the long stone steps, panting heavily. The man in sunglasses had a look of terror on his face and asked the most fatal question. Who exactly is that monster? Why is it chasing us? Notte was silent for a long time, looking at his friend beside him with a complicated look in his eyes. He said that monster is his own brother, Endure. And the reason it hunts everyone is simply because you are my friends. It all started a few months ago. At that time, the temple was still peaceful, and Notte was preparing for the ordination ceremony. One afternoon, a man with long hair and wearing a worn denim vest came to the door. He was Ren. The ninja's eyes are deep and weary, with a shocking scar on the shoulder. He said, Notte is his only family. In order to cleanse his past sins, Ren decided to shave his head and become a monk. On the day of the haircut, the sun was shining brightly. Ren closed his eyes, a holy smile on his face. Notte thought his brother could finally start over, but the calm was just a fleeting disguise. On the first day after his tonsure, Notte found a small bag of unidentified green pills in Ren's room. Immediately afterward, something happened behind the temple. A man was pierced through the chest by a spear, dying a horrific death. Notte found a blood-stained denture by the corpse. He recognized it. It belonged to his brother Shinobu. In the dim storage room, Notte held up dentures and questioned Ren. Renxian was stunned at first, then suddenly burst into crazy laughter. "I did it! I killed him with my own hands!" The 2 brothers wrestled together, Ren choking Notte's neck with a fierce death grip and a hideous expression on his face. But then, the next second, he suddenly let go, cupped his younger brother's face with tears streaming down, and pleaded, "As long as you keep silent, I can be a good person again." Notte refused. At the ordination ceremony, the police surrounded the scene. Ren knew it was his younger brother who reported him. He desperately pulled out a pistol and fired randomly at the crowd, then fled into the ruins deep in the mountains. Endurance in the ruins. The body is on the verge of collapse. His back was extensively ulcerated and peeling, and he curled up in pain in front of the stone sculpture. The police caught up, and gunshots echoed through the forest. Enduring a gunshot wound to the abdomen, he leaned weakly against the stone wall. Just as he was about to launch his final counterattack, a bullet struck him precisely in the eye. Blood splattered everywhere, fragments of the golden corolla scattering over the stone carvings. Ren died with extreme resentment and jealousy. His blood awakened the ancient ferocious beast sealed under the stone carving Makara. A monster born solely for revenge is thus brought into existence. Back to reality, the old monk solemnly told everyone, Makala is the embodiment of jealousy. It once tried to devour the guardian Naga, but was ultimately sealed by Naga with blood. Now the seal breaks. The grudges of Makara and Shin merge. It didn't kill Not because it wanted to kill everyone around him, leaving him to suffer in despair for the rest of his life. To break the curse, the group decided to return to the forest ruins to find Shinobi's remains and perform a requiem. But these people have no idea what kind of restricted zone they are stepping into. An eerie fog filled the forest, so silent that not even an insect chirp could be heard. Mr. Tosh, wearing a light green shirt, found a bright red lipstick in the fallen leaves, which shouldn't have been in the deep mountains at all. Nod walked up to the huge stone statue, and the moment his fingertips touched its surface, blood suddenly oozed from the back of his hand. The sharp tinnitus sent him to the ground rolling. Suddenly the sky darkened. A fierce wind howled, and the monster with a flower crown and covered in black mud appeared under the tree. It grabbed Not and hoisted him up with one hand, its voice hoarse as hell. "I will kill everyone you love." The blonde man and Mr. Torch swung their shovels down with force, only for them to bounce back as if striking a steel plate. At the critical moment, the companion rushed forward with a fire extinguisher, and white dry powder gushed out, covering the entire area. Taking advantage of the monster's obstructed vision, everyone dragged Not and fled desperately. A heavy crashing sound came from behind. In the red mist, a massive shadow moved through the woods. That was not a human figure at all, but the true form illusion of Makara. Everyone fled back to the old temple residence, picking up the food delivery balloon and Piri along the way. The night in the old house is more suffocating than the forest. The prayer flags flutter wildly in the room, and the black bell clashes violently without wind. The lights flickered, sparks flew from the wires, and the four people huddled together in fright. Just as everyone closed their eyes to pray, a charred black hand suddenly covered the mouth of the bespectacled man, first, from behind. The ghost pressed against his face and sneered. Quiet enough? First was pulled to the ground, and the monster sat on him, wildly throwing punches. Not burst into tears beside him, but couldn't get close at all. The scene flashed, and First woke up from a nightmare. The monster's words in the dream, "I am your brother," made Not feel as if he had fallen into an ice cave. The team began to split internally. The woman in white resolutely refused to forgive Ren, cursing him hoarsely to rot in hell. And Pearl's sister Bonus has already been targeted by the monster. In a dark, dense forest, a pitch black, monstrous hand strangled Bonus by the neck. The creature whispered venomously, "You really love him, don't you? Well, let me give you a taste of loss." When the companion arrived, Bonus had blood dripping from his abdomen and had already lost consciousness. Perry knelt down and wept bitterly, Not completely broke down. He felt it was all his fault. To seek revenge, the group sought out a shaman, Master Motong. Although this master seems completely unreliable, he is exceptionally fierce when performing rituals. Black chicken blood poured over the surrogate doll. The shaman danced wildly before the altar. As the incantation was uttered, the evil spirit wearing a golden crown appeared. The shaman raised a bamboo tube ritual instrument, drawing the red smoke into it as the evil spirits let out piercing screams. The young people thought they had won, but Makara was an ancient ferocious beast, and the bamboo tube instantly burst. The shaman was backfired by Makala, his back bursting. A massive black spirit surged out, and the shaman transformed into an even more terrifying monster. The scene was chaotic. Pierre, the man with glasses, and the man in camouflage fled into a dilapidated wooden hut. The door had just closed when a mummified head fell from above and bit down hard on the camouflage-clad man's finger. The man in camouflage let out a scream like a slaughtered pig as the skull's bite tightened. Pierre suppressed his fear and ordered the man with glasses to pin down the man in camouflage. He drew his long blade, counted 1, 2, 3, and slashed down fiercely. Black blood splattered, the skull was split open, and a severed finger from the camouflage man ended up in the monster's mouth. 3 people fled into the secret chamber and discovered ancient writing on the stone slab inside the wooden cabinet. The seal must be broken with Naga blood. They returned to the Naga stone sculpture, and the youth tried to blast it with explosives. Only Pele was blasted away, while the stone statue remained completely still. Everyone finally understands that brute force is useless. It must be paid with blood. Where can Naga blood be found? Someone suggested trying human blood. A comical yet tense blood drawing ceremony has begun. Glasses Guy first held the knife, his hand trembling like a sieve, too scared to make a single cut. Balloon also chickened out, dawdling with the knife for a long time. In the end, it was the silent Yim who rushed up, grabbed the knife, and directly cut his companion's hand. Blood dripped onto the stone carving, and blood actually flowed from the stone carving's eyes. Cracks spread rapidly. The seal was broken, but the monster did not disappear. It reappeared in the red smoke. The body grew even larger, with flames flickering on its chest. It slammed its companion onto the rocky ground, blood splattering. At this critical moment, Not stepped forward. He didn't take a weapon, but raised the Naga amulet around his neck. The amulet gave off a dazzling golden light, and in that light, Nuot saw the past of his brother Ren. It was a childhood filled with domestic violence. After getting drunk, the father punched and kicked Ren, and even picked up boiling water and threw it onto Ren's back, desperately shielding the young Not, bearing all the malice. The reason Ren turned into a monster is because he was extremely starved for love, and he envied Note for sharing love with friends. Tears streamed down the monster's distorted face as it roars, "You hate me." Not did not fight back, but instead opened his arms and tightly embraced the charred monster. "I have never hated you, because you are my brother." This hug dispelled all resentment. Makara lost its host, and the charred shell of the monster peeled away, revealing Shinobi's originally handsome face. Tears streamed down his face as he caressed his younger brother's cheek, then dissolved into countless red sparks and vanished into the night sky. Everyone thought it was all over and even signed a deal with an insurance salesman. The young monk hung the amulet back in the Buddhist hall, praying for rest. But just in the distant ruins, Yim found the other half of the jade pendant. When the two jade pendants fit together, a red light burst out. A massive, semi-transparent Naga dragon coils above the temple, letting out a roar that shakes heaven and earth. First realized in despair, the legend of Pinnak is far from over. All the previous sacrifices only broke the first seal. Makara's death, instead, awakened a more terrifying ancient power. The entire temple and forest is actually a larger cursed cage. This movie uses an extremely brutal way to thoroughly convey a truth. The most terrifying curse has never been monsters, but the obsessions of the human heart. Ren goes mad due to lack of love, and Makala uses this jealousy to drag everyone into hell. The most ingenious design of the film is that love dissolves personal vendetta. Yet, at the end, it invokes an ancient taboo to remind everyone. Some mistakes, once started, have no end. The moment the jade pendant was made whole again, the real cleansing had just begun. The knocking on the door is about to sound again.